What is up, everybody? Welcome into this episode of It's Called Football. We will be talking about the Copa America group stage, do a little recap on that, what happened, and then previewing the four quarterfinal matchups. It was very, very interesting to say the least. Some of this was peak Copa America chaos. We saw with the US Uruguay match, which we will talk about. Saw it with the Colombia, Brazils, Venezuela's, just kind of peak chaos, as we all know Copa America to be. We'll hop into the group stage. Jason, I'll let you go first. What did you think of the group stage? No, as a Mexican supporter, a little disappointed there, but what did you think of the group stage as a whole?
As a whole, it was actually quite surprising. Venezuela winning that group. Um, Sorry, I'm blanking out, but Brazil finished second in their group. Uh, two 2020, well, the two hosts of the 2026 World Cup um, nations are going to be out in the group stage. With the least, and the most surprising is everybody thought Canada would be, the nation to be eliminated, and they actually were the ones to proceed. Just a lot of upsets, a lot of surprises. I think that's what makes at least Copa America a lot better because one, these countries for sure hate each other, and two, there was a lot more upsets like we weren't expecting in this one. Um, as you said, Mexican fan, highly disappointed. It should have been a lot better. Unfortunately, things aren't going to be looking brighter for the future, but I'm just gonna have to live and deal with it. And that's the thing with the sport. Nobody was expecting Venezuela. If I remember correctly, no one expected them to get out of the group stage. Um, but that's the thing about the sport. Upsets happen, and yeah, it sucks being a Mexico fan at this time.
Yeah, it's been rough for Mexico and Jackson. I'll let you kind of talk on the group stage in the US side of things. What were your thoughts on the whole thing first? And then I want to say some words on the shit show that is USMNT.
Dude, I've got more than a few words. You guys were all going through after the game, the Slack chat, talking about this is what we should do. I couldn't do it. I just threw the phone down. I didn't want to open up Twitter. I didn't want to watch any sports. I just checked out for the next day. I'm like, I can't. It was that frustrating. But from a whole like holistic view of this tournament, actually some pretty fun results. Venezuela won the group. I don't think anyone expected that. Canada, I mean, got lucky as hell in both those games that they picked up points, but they got through. Costa Rica made a little noise. They didn't get through, but they made a little bit of noise. So, I mean, yeah, and Panama got through. So that's fun if you're neutral and you're not American and you're not wearing a USA shirt right now. But I mean, overall, I mean, it's fine in terms of that. Like, it's fun if you're neutral. If you're a Latin America in South America, excuse me, say in a nation like Colombia where you're cooking no matter what, I think you had a lot of fun watching this tournament. If you're American, you did not, and here's why: Tim Weah, dipshit, shouldn't play with the national team for a bit. I said a similar thing when Des got a red card last year. I think what was it, November last year, when he just kicked the ball into the stands, gets a red, puts the U.S. in a bad spot. I think Weah should probably sit out from the team for a bit. That's my opinion. I I get that this U.S. team runs on vibes and stuff. Vibes aren't really cutting it. They're not cutting it at all, actually. And we'll get more into that right in a second. But Tim Weah shouldn't touch the field for the U.S. in a little bit. If I was the coach, if I had any involvement with the team, he wouldn't be near it. Secondly, I think that the refereeing job from Comable in the Uruguay game was maybe the single worst refereeing job I've seen at an international tournament in recent memory. I don't know how that goal wasn't offside. That line was maybe the craziest line I've ever seen drawn when they drew the offside line. And I get it's subjective, but it just highlights the fact that the Copa is so far behind Euros when you're drawing a subjective line that looks friggin' crooked and it was drawn before the ball even hit the dude's head to try to validate his onside. And all I could think when I'm seeing that is, all right, this is actually crazy. They're doing everything in their power to get the U.S. out, which I know everyone hates the U.S. at this. We hosted the 2016, the Centenario. We took it away from them. I get that. I don't think it's our fault that CONMEBOL wants to make money. I don't think it's our fault that they're sellouts. But everyone hates the U.S., and it showed in that. I will say that the amount of stoppage time was less. The refereeing calls were crazy. Pulisic was being hacked in both the Panama and this game. Not a lot going. Turner got murdered in the Panama game. Didn't even give him a card. So I think the refereeing job was crazy. And honestly, I would not be shocked if we found out later on that there was some form of corruption involved. Now, granted, he looked inept for both sides. I will say that. He was giving Uruguay some pretty bogus calls as well. But it's just overall terrible. But at the end of the day, you can never blame it on the refs. Because if Tim Ream doesn't lose that header, it's not a problem. If Turner punches the ball away into the right spot, it's not a problem. If the U.S. had any threat and attack, it wouldn't have been a problem. At the end of the day, you got to look at it internally and just say we weren't good enough. And not just Greg Berhalter. He's going to be the one to take the fall for this, and I think he should. But before I hop into that last little bit of this little talk, the players have to look at themselves and realize we haven't been good enough. They think that this is the golden generation. I've been a firm advocate that this isn't the golden generation. If this is as good as it gets, then I am disappointed in everything that we've been moving towards, and would have been an abject failure. I think this is the generation that gets things started. Obviously, there are going to be hiccups along the road, and maybe this is a good thing that this team failed because they need to wake up. They need to wake up. They think that it's their God-given right to lead this team into the future. What have they done? They have done nothing. The only one who's played with any heart was Christian Pulisic in that final game. No one else played with heart, I don't think, except even Balawan. Balawan actually played all right. I'll give him props for that. But the players need to look at themselves. They're not God's gift to the world. They haven't won anything outside of CONCACAF, and they never can compete with anyone who's as good, if not better than them, outside of Mexico and England. So maybe take a step back, look at yourself, and realize we're not there yet. We need to figure this out and be better and play with some heart. And now when you Greg Berhalter.
Can I hop in real quick just before you get into Greg Berhalter? Yeah, you said it with the players. I think it goes back to the issue of you look at Uruguay, you look at Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Panama even. These players, they're playing for their lives. They're playing to get out of their countries when they're younger. U.S., it is my massive biggest issue with the U.S. Soccer Federation as it is you have to pay out the ass to be on a good team. It's not like the rest of the world where it's a working man's game. It's everybody's game. It's kind of a middle or upper class to an extent for the high levels. And that goes off the point of you saying that they think they're God's gift to the world to be here. There's no winners on this team. That's the biggest issue. Christian Pulisic is the only one who's maybe really kind of come close to something at the club level. Everyone else is like, oh, yeah, we play in Europe. We're stars, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't transition to the field. There's nothing that is similar to, okay, I play at Barcelona. I play at Juventus. You come to the national team and you're meant to step up and play like you play for the country, not like you're a bunch of individuals. Similar issue with England where it's, as we've seen so far, it's a bunch of individuals playing for themselves, not playing for the nation. That's where Panama got better. That's where Uruguay looked good. Venezuela, as you said, Jason, earlier, I don't think any of us expected them to get out of it. They played for the country. They played for the flag and the crest on the front of their shirt. U.S. is all playing for the name on their back. Can't do that. I'm curious to see what you have to say, Jackson, on the managerial side, especially now that B.J. Callahan has become the Nashville manager, because I think that's who should have.
Great pickup for you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
Great pickup.
A steal for NSC.
Yeah. I mean, just to hit on that final point with the players, this U.S. team has more players playing in Europe than Colombia, than a lot of these other teams. But when you're at Juventus, you can't punch someone in the back of the head. When you're at Juventus, you can't run around and be worthless, McKennie, when you play for the national team. There's no excuse anymore. You can't blame MLS. It's not MLS's fault. They didn't even have any players there. They're all in Europe. They're all good players from a soccer skill standpoint, it's the best team the U.S. has ever had. But from an actual U.S. men's national team picture, 2014 was better. 2002 was way better because those dudes played with heart. They played with something for something bigger than themselves. Give me Clint Dempsey over anyone on this team any single day, and that includes Pulisic. Give me Donovan over most of these guys minus Pulisic. Give me, honestly, Alexi Lawless would play he would leave his life on the line for the U.S. Dude's a terrible pundit, but by God, he loves his country.
Yes, he does.
I don't get that from this group, and it's really disappointing to see. But I think some of those problems rest with the manager. I think Greg Berhalter has made it too comfortable. He's made it way too comfortable. He's a friend. And look, I was an advocate for him being hired again because Zidane turned us down, and it didn't really seem like we had any better options. I know I was kind of just throwing the best manager you could have possibly gotten out there, but realistically, who was the U.S. going to get that was better than Berhalter at that point? No one. No one was going to take it on. I was like, the players love Berhalter, bring him back. That was a problem. They're too comfortable. There's no competition. He's made it too easy. Someone like McKinney can walk around, be a worthless fat piece of shit during the game, not do anything.
As he was at Leeds.
That's what he did. Tyler Adams can suddenly start after not having played the entire year. That's a problem. I don't care. It's not like he played great anyway. And then defensively, Chris Richards was a nightmare this whole tournament. Still started every game. How? I don't know. Berhalter made things too comfortable. There isn't enough competition. There aren't people who are like, oh, wow, I might lose my job. Not just to the dude on the bench, but the dude waiting in reserves. Berhalter has completely outcast someone like John Brooks, which is ludicrous in my mind, because that dude would be starting and doing bits for us. Maybe. Tim Ream, I guess, plays left side center back, so maybe he'd be on the bench behind him, but he'd be next up in line at least. He just has created a culture where it's all about vibes and not about actual soccer. It's all about everyone loving each other. It's kumbaya this, kumbaya that. There have been no results. We haven't looked good against anyone of value. Literally, we drew England 0-0 and people acted like we won the World Cup. That's all we did. We drew them 0-0. We didn't score. We didn't do anything. And we beat Mexico. Mexico's in a worse situation than we are right now. That's not a dub.
Thank you for bringing that up. I see a lot of USMT fans saying, yeah, you said the golden generation. Even though both teams were eliminated, Mexico's worst generation in years still got more points than the United States. So exactly. I'm like, yeah, it's hard to, even though it's been a disappointing last few years for Mexico, I'm like, they can't even, put up better results, I guess, would be my thing.
Yeah, Mexico's in a rebuild.
Yeah, we haven't expected anything from Mexico. Like, we thought they get out the group stage, but I don't think we thought they would do much after that. And
yeah, exactly.
It's a different place where the U.S. is.
So think about the levels there. This is supposed to be what people are, again, I disagree with this wholeheartedly, but our golden generation. And look, I get it. You played a man down. All this crap happened. Still go and beat Panama. For God's sake. I know you're down a guy, but don't let him score at least. At least get that draw. And you could still go and beat Uruguay. You really could have. Uruguay didn't even look that great that game, to be completely honest. That was a game we could have picked up. But it's just a disaster. And Greg Berhalter, I think, has got to go. I think we need a complete change. I don't know who we can get. I think BJ Callahan would have been the perfect guy to take it over, by the way. But they were never going to do that. Nashville, you got yourselves a good one, and I hope I can see BJ in the future because that dude tactically knows what he's doing. He knows how to coach teams. He knows how to get the best out of players. We've seen it with the national team. He was the one orchestrating this. I'm genuinely convinced of that. I think Greg was there for vibes. BJ was there for the soccer. Nashville, I hope he does well. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll fail, and he'll be like, okay. But I would have loved to see him. I think Klopp's out of reach. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think he'll come. Everyone's trying to say this. Why would he come? I don't think he would.
The only reason I think he would be because the World Cup's in the U.S. in 26.
And he could reunite with Pulisic, which he loves Pulisic. So maybe that would be tempting.
Yeah.
I don't know who we're going to get that's better. I say go and ransack someone after the Euros. if Roberto Martinez gets fired, bring him on. He'll be better.
I hear Southgate might be out of a job.
Yeah, I swear I will actually riot. Hey, I don't know who we're gonna get. I got to do a post about that. I've been taking a few days because I just really didn't want to even think about it. To be completely honest, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm gonna get a post out about that probably tomorrow about who I'd want to see. I don't know who it's gonna be. It's got to be someone besides Greg. And if it was up to me, because you got rid of BJ, bring in someone who's not American. Bring someone who's going to change stuff. Bring someone who's going to make the players uncomfortable, who's going to challenge U.S. Soccer Federation. Because otherwise, what's 2 years from now is the biggest opportunity U.S. soccer has ever had to really build that fandom, to build momentum, and make soccer one of the premier sports in this country. Copa America, look, it could have helped, obviously, but I don't think as many people give a shit about that, to be completely honest, who aren't really soccer fans. The World Cup's where you got to do it. And Greg Berhalter has shown that he's not the guy who's going to be able to spark dreams and create just, turn us into that kind of soccer nation where everyone can dream of us being great. It won't happen. And if you really want to capitalize in 2026, you got to fire him and you got to go find someone who can do that. And if you can get Klopp, by God, go get Klopp. But it's got to be someone besides Greg.
Yeah. I'm going to just throw one thing out there, just my comment, and then I'm going to kind of advance us to the quarterfinals because we had our little rant today. And
yeah, we got to get it out.
So just want to say, guy who I think would have been perfect for this team, and he's working wonders at Uruguay, was Marcelo Bielsa.
I forgot that. He wanted to come.
He wanted to come manage the U.S. The U.S. Federation was like, no, you don't speak English.
No hablas inglés. Yeah.
You aren't an American. You don't fit our image. He would work wonders with this team.
He would have been
Uruguay. And I mean, got to say that Uruguay's look superb. Looking at my group stage outtake, some surprises. I thought Chile was going to get through over Canada. Canada, like you said earlier, lucky 2 red cards in their 2 games when they were playing. Chile got a red card. Peru got a red card. They got points that way. U.S. obviously disappointing. Brazil was extremely disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Drawing with Costa Rica, beating Paraguay, and drawing with Colombia. And Colombia looked like they probably should have beat them, but wasn't happening. Argentina looked like we expected them to. No Messi in the last game. I think he's still questionable for the Ecuador match, but he's going to the MLS All-Star game, so
there you go.
Of course. Moving on to the quarterfinals, Argentina, Ecuador, and Venezuela, Canada on one half, Colombia, Panama, Uruguay, Brazil on the other. Start at the top half. Argentina, Uruguay. Jason, I'll let you go first. What are you thinking for this one? What are your expectations?
Sorry, my internet cut out. Did you say Argentina match, correct?
For Argentina, yes, sir.
Got it. Sorry. Yeah, I still see Argentina winning the whole thing. I had it in my preview when I wrote about it, and when we started it here, we all had Argentina winning it, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I just don't see Argentina, especially with the way Brazil has been playing. They didn't look quite like themselves even before the start of the Copa America. Yeah, I just think Argentina looks like the strongest team, regardless if Messi's on or out this next game. But yeah, shout out to Ecuador because they didn't beat Mexico, but they got advanced out of the group. Yeah, even though they got second in the group, they put a right performance against Mexico with the draw. No one's gonna beat this Argentina team, regardless if how well they play. When against Mexico, they didn't play that well. Losing to Venezuela and they just beat Jamaica. Jamaica just completely lackluster in that event. Argentina, clear win, should advance 3-0. That's quick and easy for that. There's not much to discuss, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jackson, same boat, I'm assuming. I think Argentina
2-0 Argentina. They haven't conceded at all in this tournament. Messi didn't even play, and Scaloni wasn't even on the bench in the last game. They still took care of it, no problem. I don't see any way Ecuador wins this. They haven't beaten a CONMEBOL opponent at Copa America since 2001, which I find shocking. I don't think it happens in this one. Argentina looks like the best team in this tournament. I think, and I don't. Maybe Messi doesn't even play. Maybe they rest him up still and feel confident. I don't know. I think he'll end up playing. I think they're going to need him to play, and I think they'll take care of business, no problem. I've got no worries whatsoever for Argentina in this game.
Yeah, backing it 3-3. Ecuador gets shut out. Argentina wins. And even if Messi doesn't play, Lautaro Martinez has stepped up. He's got
The
4
bull,
goals.
the
He has,
bull is good.
he has looked very, very good so far. Players like that, I could see Julian Alvarez step up if need be. And Ecuador, a little unfortunate in this to end up with this matchup and not winning the group, because in that game against Venezuela, got a red card 22 minutes in, then went up 1-0, and then it was just the pressure of playing with 10 men finally broke, and Venezuela got 2. I do rate this Ecuador team. I think they're better than a lot of people, us included, probably gave them credit for coming into this tournament. But at the end of the day, it's Argentina. Emiliano Martinez, superb in goal. Romero, Lisandro Martinez defends. Di Maria's looked pretty solid for what he can still do now. Rodrigo de Paul, McAllister. It's just name after name after name for Argentina. I think they get it done 3-0. I think it's pretty easy walk in the park for them. Moving on to the other quarterfinal on that half. Venezuela, Canada. 2 teams I don't think we really thought were going to be here. I think you guys may have predicted Canada to get through as the second.
Canada, but
But
Venezuela.
not Venezuela. Does Jesse Marsh get it done, Jackson? Is Jesse the answer to CONCACAF?
Dude, I've seen a lot of people saying this, like, oh, look at what Jesse Marsh has done. The 2 teams that they got results against got red cards early on, and Canada was able to barely squeak by in both of those. Look, I'm not saying that Jesse Marsh won't come out here and have a masterclass, but let's just make that abundantly clear. They got through because 2 teams got red cards. Literally, that is why. They looked like dog shit against Peru until that red card. They did not look good. And against Chile, that red card was so early that we don't know what would have happened. And Chile still had chances, They still had chances toward the end. They were looking pretty dangerous. I know Canada scored and got called back, but whatever. Big news for Canada is Tejan Buchanan's out. Broken fibia, I think. So he's not going to play. So you lose that pace and kind of trickery out in the right wing. So that's gone. Venezuela's looked impressive. Ever since they got that first goal against Ecuador, they've looked good. They really have. And I know this is a weaker Mexico team and a Jamaica team that, they failed miserably. Because everyone was talking about this Jamaica team finally being the team that could compete. They didn't compete at all, except for in the first game against Mexico for a bit. As soon as they got scored on, though, their whole tournament was done. We realize that now. So Venezuela did work them. And I'm going to back them in this. This is a game where, to be fair, Jesse Marsh got the draw he would have dreamed of. This is a game that they could very easily win. But I'm going to back Venezuela in this. I think they've looked good. I like Rondon. I think if he gets a chance, he will bury it. Like, he's actually – people forget this. The dude was a baller in the Prem. Dude is a baller in Europe. He's a very good striker. If you give him a chance, you give him just an opening, he will score. And I don't feel as confident with the Jonathan David, who I think is a very good striker. But when he plays for Canada, doesn't always have that finishing clinical edge for whatever weird reason. So, yeah, I'm going to back Venezuela. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they get a red card and Canada wins, though. Seems to have been part of the course.
Jason, what are your expectations for this one?
I'm on the same boat. We weren't expecting much of Venezuela, and then they came out swinging, and they've proven us wrong. They went perfect all 9 points in the group stage. I want to say even though they beat Mexico, their worst performance was against them because their goal came from a pen. But at the same time, Canada having injuries, Jesse Marsh, questionable manager. Only person I give a huge shout out to would be actually Maxime Crepeau. He seems to be playing lights out this tournament so far, starting from the Argentina game. If Crepeau gives another good performance, and at least if the defense holds up against this Venezuela team, because they've scored in every game so far compared to Canada, which only against Peru. they could put up a performance. I still don't see them winning. I think Venezuela, as you said, Jerry, earlier, they're playing for their country. They're playing for their flag. For Canada, they're not. I guess they are, but you don't see that much as passion as the Venezuela side has. But I see Venezuela winning it 2-0 to go to the next round.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think Venezuela's the better team. Talked about the Mexico game. They scored a penalty, but then Rafael Ramos stepped up and saved a penalty as well in the 87th minute to keep that one. And I think that was the point where I realized, okay, this Venezuela team, something's cooking there. They have something going. As you mentioned, Jackson Rodon's been superb. Edward Bello has been great. He has 2 goals as well in this Copa America. They just seem like the better all-around team. Like they're playing for something. They are motivated to win. Canada, I still think, I don't know if you guys saw the Chile match, but Canada looked like they probably should have gotten a red card early on when the guy elbowed the Chilean.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
There was no yellow card even. There was nothing. He just kind of threw an elbow in.
Hit him in the face too.
Yep.
It was actual contact. I forget if it was Cornelius or who it was, but yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but if he gets sent off, I think Canada loses that match. Chile was superb. They had the majority of the fans there. It was kind of surprising that happened. I think they're very lucky. I don't think this Canadian team is that good. And I mean, Jason, you mentioned it. They've scored 1 goal in this tournament so far. That's not going to be enough to beat Venezuela. I think Venezuela gets it done 2-0 as well. Now to the fun side of the bracket. As we had in Euros, and we did our Euro preview earlier, so guys go check that one out. Selfless plug for us. But the top half of the bracket there has all the good teams, all the exciting matches. That's what this bottom half of the bracket has. We'll start with Colombia, Panama. I don't see Colombia losing. Colombia has been, to me, one of the most impressive teams so far. Up there with Uruguay, up there with Argentina. James Rodriguez is him once again. He has 4 assists or something already, 3 assists so far. They're finding ways to get things done, and they're looking damn good doing it. Jason, I'll kick it off to you first. What are you expecting from Colombia, Panama?
Like you said, I see Colombia winning it. Colombia, this first in their group, ahead of Brazil, had a good match against them. So proving good against tougher competition. And then they're playing Panama. They kind of squeezed on by barely to get to the next round. James has been doing wonderful. I just don't see Panama. When you ever put Panama against, I guess, the harder competition, regardless, even if it's just Mexico, United States, another team, the other group stages, they didn't really seem that impressive. But there's no buts. I don't know why I'm saying that. So just Colombia winning. I see it 3-0. And Colombia seems like, again, like you said, they're playing for their country. They're not playing just for the names. They're proving they have the passion, and they get it done.
Jackson?
I don't really need to talk a lot here. Panama is going to get murdered. Give me 3-0 Colombia. I think I was high on them before the tournament. I'm still high on them now. They're good. They'll take care of this, no problem. Whether it's Panama or the U.S., they were winning 2-3-0 anyway. They'll win 3-0 in this game. Send me Colombia through to the semis easy.
Completely agree. I mean, Panama's outside of that U.S. game, Panama's toughest opponent was Uruguay, and Uruguay beat them 3-1, and the only Panama goal came on the last kick of the game. So, pretty self-explanatory. I think Colombia gets it done 3-0. I think it'll be very, very one-sided. This is the match I'm the most excited for. Uruguay-Brazil, 2 of the powerhouses in CONMEBOL history. Jackson, I'll kick it off to you first. What are you expecting? Who do you think gets it done?
Yeah, I mean, this is 15-time champion versus 9-time champion. Uruguay, who people forget, but they were at once the soccer power in South America, versus Brazil, who everyone thinks about now. This is going to be fun. Brazil still hasn't looked very impressive to me. I know they got through. They technically didn't lose the game, but you drew Colombia, which, fair enough. Colombia's been looking good, but you also drew Costa Rica to start it out. You didn't look good in that. You tied a U.S. team before this tournament that couldn't even get out of the group. I'm still not very high on this Brazil team, and I think Uruguay is going to take advantage here. Don't get me wrong. Uruguay did not look that great against the U.S. I really don't think they did. I think defensively, sure, but attacking wise, they didn't really look that great. And the only goal was obviously that controversial offside goal. But I do think they've looked better than Brazil. I do think they've got a better head coach than Brazil. And I feel like they're playing with more passion and have the fans behind them more than the Brazilian fans are behind this Brazil team right now. I think Brazil can sense that. They obviously know it. I mean, Ronaldinho was going out in the press saying he wasn't going to watch. Obviously, I think he was doing it for clicks and because he's bored, but he's got a point there. A lot of the things he said were actually very valid. And I think they know that and they're nervous heading into this. Whereas Uruguay, this is as strong as the Uruguay team has looked in a while, to be completely honest with you. They look good. They're doing well in World Cup qualifiers right now. Nunez is playing well with them. You bring Suarez in off the bench. You've got a good midfield. You've got good defenders. I really like this Uruguay team. I have for a while, ever since we've been previewing this tournament, looking forward to it. And I think they'll take care of Brazil in this. I really do. I'm gonna go 2-1. I do think Brazil will get a goal. I think they'll get a goal back and make it interesting at the end. But I really like this Uruguay team. They've shown that they can be deadly off set pieces. And if Nunez gets a sniff of the goal, he's been looking pretty good. So I'm liking Uruguay. I think they'll get this done. Brazil haven't been impressive. So send me Uruguay into the semis to face Colombia.
Yep, I'm with you. I think Uruguay gets it done. But Jason, I'll go to you next. What are you thinking of this one?
Same thing. Uruguay is going to get it done. I see a Darwin Núñez goal. Brazil also, the tackle on Vinny inside the box was questionable. That seemed like it should have been a pen somewhat, but I guess they were robbed. But regardless, they shouldn't be relying too much on penalties. Compared to their roster, compared to all the other teams, they should be competing. Regardless, they should be winning at least one goal every game. But they just haven't been like the team we all thought they were. We thought so far we had them in our preview in the group stage. We had them going all the way to the final, or at least to the third place match or whatever. They're not looking like a team that can even make it to that. Uruguay just been looking lights out, and like they're not even fielding a team full of like European players. A lot of these players are still playing. Some are in Mexico, some are playing back in South America. This team looks like they have the passion and they do have the players regardless of what competition they're in. And I just see Uruguay winning. Like Jackson said, 2-1. I see Brazil pulling one back, but I see a Darwin Núñez goal to give them that win.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just agree with you guys completely. I think Uruguay gets it done. I'm actually taking Uruguay 2-0 because Vinny Jr. is suspended for this game. He picked up his second yellow. I do not see. I mean, they needed a beautiful free kick from Rafinha to even get one against Colombia. There was no shot creation, no chance creation, as it was against Costa Rica. Paraguay is nothing against Paraguay, but they are that bad. What did they finish with? They scored 3 goals, conceded 8.
Yeah.
You're not going to do much with that. So I think Brazil is going to be completely outclassed. Maximiliano Araujo has been solid. He's 2 goals. Darwin Núñez has been solid. Even looking at the other players, it's been, Nicolas de la Cruz has a couple assists. Uruguay just beats them in every aspect. It starts with the manager and goes from there. I love Marcelo Bielsa. So I think he gets it done. He's completely turned around this Uruguay team that's been pretty disappointing since 2011 when they won the Copa Americas then. Like I said, 2-0. I think Uruguay moves on against Colombia. And there we have it. Just want to get your guys' picks just really quickly because we did do this with the Euros knockout stage. Coming into this, who do you think wins it? Who do you think's the runner-up?
I'm back in Colombia. I backed him from before. I thought Argentina was initially, but I actually think Colombia is going to beat him in the final. I really do. They've looked very solid to me. Argentina, it's looking good against teams that aren't very good, but they haven't had to play anyone of real substance yet. Colombia's already had to play Brazil. They are going to have to play either Brazil or Uruguay in the semis, and I think they'll win that game. So I think they'll know what it's like to play a better team, and that's going to really come in handy. Argentina, obviously, I still think is a favorite, and this is kind of an out there shout for me, but I could see Colombia getting it done against them and kind of shocking Messi in his home stadium in the final.
Jason?
I'm still gonna back Argentina. Like he does bring a good point. Argentina hasn't played anybody of high quality, but at the end of the day, this is gonna be rigged for Messi. That's why he got the easy path to the final. And with the shady refereeing, with USA and Uruguay, I see some interesting calls being called in the final and on the way for Argentina.
No, I'm going to back a third different team. I think it will be Argentina in the final, but I think Uruguay will beat them and become the most winning Copa America side in history. I think they get it done. I just really enjoy what I've seen. I think them and Colombia will be the best match this whole tournament, and
That's like a final.
It will be peak Copa America without Messi in it. So I just think Uruguay gets it done, and Messi hasn't looked like himself. Same with Ronaldo. Neither of them have scored. I don't think anything's gonna. I think it'll change at some point for Messi. He'll get a penalty somewhere. But that's the only Jason, as you brought up, we haven't seen any too controversial calls in Argentina's favor yet.
Not yet. They haven't needed it.
That's what I mean. Not yet. It's possibly incoming. But there you have it, guys. Thank you all for watching. That is our Copa America preview for the round or for the quarterfinals. Recap from the group stage. Couple rants there. We'd love to see that. Make sure you guys check out not only this episode, but our Euro podcast episode as well, looking at the quarterfinals. We love our talk of the footy world. So thank you guys for watching. It's called Football, and we'll see you next time.